Well, more than just that, Katlego, I can tell you the kitchen is the happiest space to be in ever. Well, unless you're confronted by meal disasters, which is something that most of us, have more than than often. You can either have Jonathan with you, or you could just stay through all of this. Jonathan, thanks for helping us. Common meal disasters. We're in the kitchen.
Yes.
What if the tomato paste ruined the whole pot of tomato bready and it's too acidic? What if the gravy is too runny? What if my rice burnt again? What do we do?
Well, we all make mistakes in the kitchen. It's not a common thing. It's not uncommon at all to make a few mistakes, but it really doesn't have to be a total disaster. And most of the times when we do make mistakes, it's more about the balance of flavor. And so it's actually, there are a few tips which we can tell you, which will be able to sort of remedy these disasters, if you will. And as I said, it's more about a balance of flavors. So, for instance, we were talking about the tomato soup. If you're making a tomato bready or a tomato soup, or even if you're doing a spaghetti bolognese, often the tomato is very, very astringent and it is very acidic. So it's even like every single time I do it, I will always add a little bit of sugar to it. Every single time. So a small amount of sugar to the tomato just balances out that acidity and it stops that tomato being really, really astringent.
Could you use a replacement for sugar? Like, could you use a bit of jam?
You could use a bit of jam, exactly, because there obviously is the sugar inside the jam, which would balance it out very well.
Okay, that's a good idea. So sugar to tomato, that's acidic. Okay,
yes,
cool.
I do it every single time. It's not even a disaster. It's more, I do it every single time just to balance it out. A small amount, about a teaspoon or so.
No problem.
Okay. And then the other one, which we often do, and I often do because I do like my food quite salty, is sometimes I add a little bit too much salt. And obviously this little remedy is perfect if you add a little bit too much salt. It's not going to help if you add the whole pot, if you're unscrewing the top of the grinder and suddenly it all goes into the plate. But what I do is a little squeeze of lemon juice.
Right.
A little squeeze of lemon juice just balances out that flavor again. And that's what we're going back to again. It's all about a balance of flavors when you're cooking.
Could you use it in a soup? Let's say your soup's too salty. Could you add a little bit of it?
Yes, absolutely. Right. It's not going to make it very, very lemony, but it's just going to balance those flavors out.
I'm actually just fixing all my mistakes that I've made.
Thinking about it as we go along. Okay, all right. And another thing which I really, really like, which I'm glad that we're going to bring up today, is just thickening. So sometimes what happens if you're making a stew, or even if you're making a soup and it's a little bit runny and you want to make it a little bit thicker. Or the gravy, exactly. You want to thicken it up. The perfect remedy for that is a combination of flour and butter.
Oh, wow.
And what you do is you just get the butter, which has been a little bit melted or a little bit softened, and you mix it together with the flour, which basically makes what we call a beurre meunier in French.
Right.
And that is a classic sort of remedy of thickening something. It works a lot better than adding your normal maizena because it just makes it a lot smoother and a lot silkier.
Okay, well, this is good advice. I like
very,
this
very
one.
good, this one. All right, cool. And then the last one, basically what we're going to do is, you know, if you have a curry and you make it a little bit too hot, too much spice in there, the best way to get over that is just to mellow that out with a little bit of cream, and sometimes they say a little bit of banana as well.
Oh,
that really just kind of balances those flavors.
Banana I didn't know about.
Yeah.
So you could
cooling
add some
effect.
Okay, cooling effect. Put out the fire a little bit.
Put out the fire, exactly.
Okay, well, these are fairly easy to follow, and I think they're easy to remember as well. So we're going to make some more stuff and cook a bit later on.
Let's do that, yeah.
Okay, so when we come back, the kitchen doesn't have to be the place that all your disasters happen. Jonathan is literally taking us one step further, and we're going to cook after the break.
By supporting the Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre, that's where we found goodness. Pick n Pay, always there for you.
Welcome back to Expresso, your feel-good breakfast show. In the kitchen, earlier we learned about disasters and things that commonly go wrong in the kitchen. Well, this time we're fixing it because Jonathan is fixing up another tasty and delicious meal. What are we making today?
Well, today what we're going to be making is a little sort of turn on your classic fish and chips. Like everyone knows a normal fish and chips, but what we're going to do is we're just going to rev it up a little bit. So we've got some Japanese breadcrumbed hake, and we're going to be serving that instead of your normal potato chips, we're going to be making polenta chips.
So we're making our own?
Exactly. So we're going to get right in there. What we're going to do is we're going to have a pot of boiling stock and some polenta. Now, polenta is basically like a mini meal, and we pop that into our boiling stock, and we give that a stir. Now, basically with this is you cook it until it becomes quite stiff. So you basically just stirring it around. It'll absorb that stock very, very quickly, and that stock just gives it a nice, good flavor.
I can smell it. Already smells delicious. You know,
Yes.
I know polenta in crumbled form. I've never made it, so it's nice to see that you can actually press it together like that.
Because
okay.
it sets, basically.
Yeah.
So once it cools down, it sets. So after that, once it's gone to a nice consistency, we'll pour it onto our baking sheets like this, and it'll just cover the full sheet like that.
Right.
And we'll pop that into the fridge, or you can just let it sit out for a little while, and it sets into quite a nice, hard, you can feel.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's solid, isn't it? So as you see, that's thickening up nicely like that. So once that has been set onto plate like that, we'll leave that, and we'll move on over to our hake.
All right, so I can see our hake's already cut into pieces.
Yes.
Could I use other fish?
You can use any other sustainable fish, some fish that's on the green list, the sassy green list. Something like yellowtail would be good.
Right.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start breadcrumbing this. And we're going to use these really nice Japanese breadcrumbs, and I like to use them because they're really, really crisp. They give a really, really nice light crispiness to it.
They look like white chocolate, but they feel a little bit crumbly. So,
Yeah.
I had to touch to make sure.
So what we're doing is we're just going to lightly flour a little bit of our fish over here, and then we're going to dip it into the egg wash, which just makes these breadcrumbs stick really nicely to it.
Never mind Japanese. This looks like something that my mom would make in the kitchen, like on Friday nights.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Deep fried fish.
But you'll just see now, if this is on, yes it is, you'll see how nicely this will crisp up.
Wow.
So we'll do about 3 or 4, just to show you what it's all about.
It's almost like a make-believe tempura. It looks really good as it's baking in.
Really, really good. It's a lot crispier and lighter than your normal sort of breadcrumbs. But you can use breadcrumbs, absolutely. It's not a train smash if you don't.
But it's always nice to use something new as well. Of course, you can soon recreate this. We'll give you that keyword so that you can do what Jonathan is doing. In fact, the keyword is hake. Hake to 33728. And you can create all of this by, we'll send you the link to the recipe, basically.
Okay,
Wow.
let me use this just to wipe my hands off.
No problem.
And so this has been set, the polenta has been set nicely in the pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these into chip sizes, basically.
Well, they're a little bit bigger than chip. They're almost...
Yeah, I like a nice chunky chip like
yeah.
that. And so we've got that, it's been set, and we're just going to pop that into our boiling fat as well, into the oil. And that's going to crisp up really, really nicely.
How long do you leave it in there for? How do you know when it's ready, more or
Just
less?
until it's golden brown.
Okay.
It doesn't take long at all, especially with the fish. It takes probably about 1 minute to 2 minutes.
Wow, these flavors are amazing. It's mouth-watering. I'm standing here looking at the finished product, and it really looks good. What are you doing now?
Now what I'm doing is I'm just making a small little accompaniment to it.
Of course.
So what we'll do is we'll
Why would we buy anything?
Exactly.
Because we can just make it.
And what I'm doing is I'm just making a small little herbed mayo. Something like...
Oh, is that basil?
That's basil, and this is
smell it from
parsley.
here.
Yeah, really, really refreshing. And something just nice just to add to the fish. I'm just going to mix it up like that.
Can I mix it, please?
Please do, please do. While you do that, I'm going to take out the fish
Okay.
and
Swap places
the
with
polenta.
you.
Let's swap around.
I have to make it look like you did it. So the keyword again is hake to 33728 to create this crispy Japanese-style fish and chips. Did I say it right,
You
Jonathan?
did. Well done. That's exactly it.
Listen, I can't make it. I must at least say it, right?
Yeah. So we're just taking this out of the pan, and the fish has got a really nice light coating of the Japanese breadcrumbs, and the polenta chips, if you can see, have crisped up really, really nicely already. So that
This
just
is a
goes
very
there.
good dish to impress people. Look at
Oh,
that.
you know, you got your normal fish and chips, and this is just basically wow, there we go. Look at that.
It looks amazing.
And we're just going to drain that a little bit, just to take off a little bit of the excess oil.
Yeah, and I see that you've done them all in the same pan with the same oil.
Exactly, it's not a problem at all.
Because you're making it together, right? It's not like you're going to make it any different. What am I going to do with this?
Right.
Did I do a good job?
You did a very good job.
Thank you,
well
Jonathan.
done. Okay, and then we've got a bit of lemon over there, so we can have a squeeze. That's it. Let's just place a
Where do
lid.
I put the lemon?
Put that on top. Let's just give it a squeeze.
Why not? There we go.
Why not? Look at
Did I
that.
do it enough?
Yes.
Yay.
Very, very well done.
We're getting good at this.
Okay. All right, so we've got a finished product over here. You can garnish it with a little bit of, let's say, parsley.
Yeah.
A few chives if you like. There we are.
To make it look pretty.
Exactly. There we are. Let's put that onto the nice finished product there.
Oh, wow, that looks
Okay.
amazing. So you can create this too. We'll send you a list of those ingredients to recreate this recipe at home. Hake to 33728. Jonathan, thank you.
Not a problem at
Fish
all.
for breakfast, it's always what I want.
Fish all day.
Leigh-anne's outside. I'm gonna taste. Come here.
By partnering with the WWF, we found goodness in sustainable fishing practices. Pick and Pay, always there for you.